Hey there, happy day 763 of What's She Up To Now. She's Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, also known as Pajama Grandma, in actually one of my super comfy robes today. How stiff are you? Now, kind of a weird question to start the day or the podcast or the video, whatever you happen to be wherever you happen to be hearing my voice or seeing my face today. And it's because I was talking about the expression keep a stiff upper lip in my Supersize Your Business vlog, I guess, today, or my video today. And I guess it's really, I love this expression, and I didn't know why, but as I was researching the meaning of it, it turns out that this expression, although it's from the 1800s, became really, really popular in the 1960s. I don't know why it became popular in the 1960s, maybe because there was so much change. I know every decade that I've lived in, we always feel as a society that there's so much change and so much going on, and we feel the same way today in the 2000s, the 2020s already, right? That's almost 60 years later, but we still feel this massive momentum and change going on in the world around us, right? And we're all a part of that. And oftentimes we need to keep a stiff upper lip, right? We need to remain calm and not super duper emotional, or not at least show a whole bunch of emotion. And we do that by being stoic and taking it. I do it by taking a deep breath, counting to 10 a lot of the time, and just breathing and keeping a stiff upper lip. I don't know that I've ever consciously cut my upper lip, because that would be just plain weird. But this expression, I was surprised that it's an American expression, because it actually, when we think of people being stoic and calm and collected, we often think of the British, and the British people being more reserved in terms of showing their emotions. And it actually, this expression was written in Britain in 1844, and it's been around, like I said, in America since the 1800s, but for some reason it had a resurgence and became really, really popular in the 1960s, which is, I was born in 1960, so the year I was born, that whole decade was really popular. And so it makes sense that I would have heard this. I think my parents probably more often said, "Buck up, Buttercup," or "Get your act together." Get your act together. I definitely heard that one over my lifetime. And just so many times that I personally, and people I know and care about, have had to keep a stiff upper lip and put a brave face on things. I worked in manufacturing, and a lot of times, not a lot of times, but sometimes we would have, we've had fatalities where I worked. We had, manufacturing can be really dangerous. We had, I had to take a guy and his finger to the hospital once, and what would have happened if I had been all panicky and crying and upset and hysterical during that situation? Now, this is how I kind of felt on the inside. I'm like, oh my God, I've got this guy's finger on ice after we shut down the line and had to take apart everything to find it, and now I'm taking it to the hospital with him, and they're going to try to sew his finger back on. I mean, inside I was like, oh my God, this is horrible, and it was. But on the outside, I was calm and collected and engaged, kept him engaged and stuff. And so there's just stuff that happens in our life that we need to deal with on the surface in a way that we don't even know we have the strength to deal with, in a calm and collected way. And then after the fact, we can go, I've had to deal with that, my own health challenges and things that have happened with me. I used to have to get, I don't know if I've even ever talked about this, but I used to have to get injections and shots in my eyes. I have a very rare, very strange type of inflammation in my body that doesn't just affect my arthritis and joints. It affects my eyeballs, and my eyeballs will get fluid and stuff in them and infected. I don't know if it's really any infection, it's more of an inflammation. I always say that it's like arthritis in my eyes. Well, a lot of times I had to have steroid drops, and then when it got really bad, steroid injections and shots in my eyes. And I remember one time the doctor, was a new doctor. I'd just gone to Green Bay on my first corporate job, and I got this eye thing. And it was a new doctor, and she injected my eye, but previously when I got shots in my eye, they would always do a shot of, and a Q-tip of xylocaine, which is a numbing drug first. Well, she didn't know about that and forgot, so she just did the surface numbing Q-tip, and I was talking because she was new and we were just getting to know one another, and she put the shot of the steroid in my eye without the first doing the xylocaine, or without putting xylocaine into the shot. So when it went into my eye, I was a little shocked and surprised, and I of course jumped because it was like a super duper excruciating pain, and she let go of the needle. She jumped back too and let go of the needle. So I'm sitting there with the needle hanging out of my eye. I had my original reaction, and then I was calm and quiet, and I said, okay, someone needs to take the needle out of my eye. Now, if I had screamed and cried and been hysterical, that situation would have been a whole lot worse than had I not kept a stiff upper lip and just said, okay, somebody needs to take the needle out of my eye. They took the needle out of my eye, and of course that doctor ordered me my own personal bottle of xylocaine from that point on. And in the future, she never gave me shots without the xylocaine. But that's just one little example that I can think of where a situation, had I overreacted and gone and reacted like I really emotionally felt at the instant, it would have been much worse than had I had a calm exterior, dealt with the situation at hand, and then let myself feel the emotions of that situation a little bit later on. Which is probably why, I can talk about it now like it's just a story. Remember it being a lot more interesting at the exact time, but that's just what we have to do sometimes. So a lot of times we have to take that approach to things, especially emergencies with ourselves, with our kids. Oh my God, is it harder to do anything than watch your kid get stitches? But you have to sit there and be stoic. If you faint, and I had a mom and I used to be a Bowser of a kid, and I had stitches, I had nails through my foot, I had 3-inch, slivers in the bottom of my foot before that had to get taken. I've had all kinds of stuff, no broken bones, but all kinds of other stuff that I had to have dealt with. And my mom was kind of a fainter. I gotta tell you, as a kid, when you're getting stitches in your head and your mom is passing out, that doesn't necessarily lead to lots of confidence, but it does. So in emergencies, sometimes we have to shove back how we're really feeling at the time, deal with the emergency the best way we can, and then move on and have our emotional reaction later. Same with whenever we're starting anything new. When we make mistakes, sometimes we have to not sometimes, all the times, we need to just face the consequences and then say, oh, God dang it, I messed this up. I got to do something different next time. And then we just do something different. We take another action. We all fail. We all make mistakes. We all do the best we can at the time. But sometimes we find out that the choices that we made and the decisions that we made and the direction that we've gone has led to consequences that we didn't even consider, right? Have you ever made a decision where you made a quick decision, or even made a really long decision where you didn't make a decision or a choice, and then you were left with a situation that you had not anticipated? I gotta believe almost all of us as human beings have had that happen to us at least once in our lives. And what do you do with it? Well, you could whine and be a victim and bitch and moan and complain about it, or you can say, this just is what is. This is the current situation. This is the current result based on stuff I did in the past. What am I going to do about it? And we can feel bad about it, but does that really do any good? No, it just makes us feel worse. And then we get into that self-fulfilling prophecy and downward spiral of just feeling terrible about stuff. And we'll throw and we'll pile other stuff on it to make us feel even worse, right? It's like guilt. What good does guilt do? I personally have come to terms with knowing that guilt, worry, fear, doubt, they're all just robbers of our and thieves of our time and energy. They just suck the life out of us, and they don't really positively help us in any way. I have never worried myself into any positive outcome. I have never feared or been scared into any positive outcome, right? If we're afraid, we don't take action. If we're worrying about something, all that's doing is adding negative energy to it. As a mom, that was a tough lesson to learn, that we're concerned about our kids, but worrying about them doesn't do any good. It just adds negative energy and actually probably increases the probability of something not awesome happening, right? I don't know if it does, but I'm worried that it does, so I'm not worried that it does. I just don't want to even add any negative energy or fuel to a fire that's in the wrong direction. So I just stay out of it. I keep a stiff upper lip and stay out of it. Whenever we're facing new and uncharted waters, sometimes we got to put a smile on our face and do a stiff upper lip. All of us are different in terms of our how we want to interact with other people. Some people thrive on big, events with a gazillion people. Other people are introverted. I'm kind of a combination of both. Are introverted and are, more likely and happier and more comfortable on our own, doing things on our own. And so sometimes, though, we all have to interact with other people, right? Almost all of us have to get out and socially interact with people. We go to weddings, we go to funerals, we go to events, we go to school, we go to wherever, we go to work, we interact with other people in our businesses and in our relationships in our everyday life. And sometimes that's scary. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes we have to put on a stiff upper lip, take a deep breath, maybe we have a drink, and we go to that networking event. We do whatever it is that we need to do to achieve the goals that we want, even when it's uncomfortable. And I think stretching our comfort zone is a great example of a place where we need to have a stiff upper lip. And what we find is whenever we take action towards something that we're afraid of, we always find, at least I have always found, anything I've ever been afraid of, anything in my whole life so far, I'm going to say so far, that I have ever been afraid of that stopped me in my tracks from doing something, when I finally got up the gumption to take a step toward the thing that I was afraid of, it never, ever happened. Not once did something that I was afraid of. Okay, I'll take that back. I'm divorced, so I never wanted to be divorced, so I will say that, but here's the problem with that. For a long time, I was afraid of being divorced, right? And my subconscious was always afraid of being divorced. And then I got divorced, and guess what? It didn't kill me. I was always afraid of losing money or making a bad decision or a wrong choice. And then I would make a choice and I would have a failure or a failed something, or I would lose money. Oh my God, I got over the fear of losing money thing in the stock market in the early 2000s. My ex-husband and I lost over $1 million in the stock market. And so that got me over my fear of failure of losing money. And I actually am one of those people that hasn't been afraid of dying, and it's a good thing, because in 2010 I died. And so I'm not afraid of dying. So I've learned that anything that I tried that, right? I took a step toward it. I tried it. It didn't work out. I'm here still. So I'm not afraid of it. I'm sorry that I shouldn't deal with that so lightly, because I know a lot of people are afraid of dying. A lot of people are afraid of public speaking. Why do I do Facebook Lives every freaking day? Because I was scared to death of anyone seeing my mug, my face, my old wrinkly face, my grandma pajamas, and who I am, right? So we're so afraid of other people judging us and knowing who we are and seeing us. But I actually make myself do a video every day, whether I feel like it or not, no matter what I look like, to show up in the world. Mostly just show up for myself, not really to show up for anyone else, but to show up for myself and to prove to myself that making a video every day is not going to kill me. Doing public speeches, doing speeches in corporate America, I was always nervous to do them, but then I'd get up there and I would do it, and I never died. Did I mess up and stumble my words? Do I still do that on my videos? Absolutely, we all do. But in the overall scheme of things, did it matter? No. Every time I've ever had to step out and face something and take a little action towards something I'm afraid of, it's made me stronger and braver and more confident. And I guarantee it will do the same for you, because 98% of the time, the thing that we fear most will never happen. One of my tricks for doing things that I'm afraid of and that make me scared is I ask myself the question, and this might be against, positive thinking and the law of attraction and everything, but I ask myself, what is the absolute positive worst thing that could happen in this situation? What's the worst thing that could happen? What is the worst possible worst case scenario? And then I ask myself, can I live with that? Can I live with getting divorced? Yep, absolutely positively can. Can I thrive after I get divorced? Sure. Can I live with shutting down my business? Yes, I absolutely positively can. I'm here. Can I live with a sudden cardiac arrest after I've died? Absolutely. I'm here and I'm proof of that. So, and I guess maybe my whole thing about fear changed after my sudden cardiac arrest, because I realized that if I faced my absolute greatest fear, and the greatest fear that most people have, and I'm still here to talk about it, what else is there to be afraid of, right? What else can hurt me? What else is there to stop me in my tracks? Now, it doesn't mean I don't get stopped in my tracks by little bitty things that are so ridiculous and insignificant. I would be afraid to admit them, right? I still do. We all still do. It's called human evolution and personal development, and that we always have things that we want to do, be, and have, right? As soon as we achieve one thing, there's something else that we want. It's human nature. And people think, oh, you shouldn't want all these things. But guess what? We do. We as human beings are always, we're either upward spiraling, going toward what we want, or we're downward spiraling. There is no staying the same. We live in a world of constant, never-ending change. And if everything around us is changing, we either change with it and move in the direction we want, or we fight against it, and anything we fight against stops us and creates this downward spiral. Can't remember the training I learned that in that I just loved. I think it was, oh my gosh, what was it? A friend of my husband's, we went as a couple. We went, and then another couple, we're both divorced now, so that's interesting. But we went to this training, can't remember the name of it. It was actually with the Gillette company back in the Gillette days, and can't remember what it's called, but it was wonderful, and it talked about the upward and the downward spiral, and that nothing ever stays the same, and it stuck with me. Obviously, this is at least 20 some years ago, and I still remember it. So there's things that we hear and learn that stick with us and impact us for the whole rest of our life, and the vast majority of what we hear and know and are exposed to, in one ear out the other. Maybe not even in one ear out the other, it just goes right by us, and our radar doesn't even pick it up. So keep a stiff upper lip. Would love to know if you have experience with this expression. If your parents ever told you, buck up, buttercup, have a stiff upper lip, don't cry, you can do this, you know, you did this, you have to deal with the consequences. I can just hear all these things because I experienced a lot of those. So keeping a stiff upper lip. Today was day 54 of the 365-day fun challenge, and that was a fun one too. We're talking about your favorite family memory. So everybody's sharing their favorite family memory, and I got a lot of really super fun, crazy. I think it was they in the challenge asked for your craziest family memory, but boy, I've got a lot of those. But I just said, hey, people, share your favorite family memory, because that could be anything. But I like to focus on the good things, not on the bad things, because like all families, we have good things and bad things that happen in our families, right? We have good things and bad things that happen in our own lives. So working on that. Live challenge workshop, March 23rd. I need to get my rear in gear and start working on the group that I'm going to do that in, and the group that I'm going to do that with, and start promoting. By promoting, I mean sharing on social media. I'm not going to run ads to it or do anything like that. I'm proving to people that you do not need to spend money on advertising in the online world to attract the people that you want to your business. Now, if you want to do it super duper fast, you can throw all kinds of money at stuff and make things happen exponentially faster. But then you get the stories of the people that made $1 million in a year, but they are living at the poverty level because they really spent $900 and some thousand on advertising and promotion to bring in that $1 million, and then they had, $100,000 of fulfillment, and they're in the poorhouse because they didn't really make any money. So always look at people's stories and ask yourself, well, how did they really do that, and what was the real outcome of that? We're looking at improving our financial situation, really, not just on paper, right? I'm in an organization, and the One Funnel Away Challenge is actually in week 2, day 7 today, doing that with a small group of people, but it's kind of just an aside project right now because I'm working on my own challenge launch. And we have to always remember that when we see these success stories, to not compare ourselves to other people. Our journey is our journey, but to also look for the real story and the backstory. ClickFunnels is a good example. One Funnel Away Challenge, and not the One Funnel Away Challenge, the ClickFunnels 2 Comma Club Award, where you make $1 million in a single funnel. You get this award, and it's a cool award. You get this big plaque and this big award. And what a lot of people don't know is some of those people are doing super duper well that have won the 2 Comma Club Award. Other people not so much, right? Some of the people have made, they've bought their 2 Comma Club Award with advertising dollars and with promotion. And that's one way to get it. The other way to get it is to build a real business that is 7 figures, that feeds you and your family and helps you to do the things that you want to do beyond it just taking care of yourself and your family. And it's up to you what type of business that you want to build and what you want to show to the world. I say I'm going to show up every day and tell you what's really going on with me. So March 23rd, mark that on your calendars. Join me in the live challenge workshop. It's going to be a 5-day workshop. I am simplifying it, and simplifying it. My biggest challenge over the next 2 weeks is to cut out all the stuff that overwhelms people, because I tend to share way too much stuff, and that overwhelms people. And I don't want to overwhelm people. I want you to get the result that you want. And it's a super simple result, but it's one that eludes most people. It's like why there's so many Facebook Live challenges. The vast majority of the population is scared to death to get on camera and do a Facebook Live. That's why there's challenges all the time to do them. My first online challenge that I participated in someone else's was actually might have only been a 3-day. I think it was a 3-day Facebook Live challenge to do. It was with Mark Nelson, as a matter of fact. Thank you, Mark Nelson. I did his 3-day Facebook Live challenge. And I was actually the only one that did it. I was the only one that got on the first day and did a video. And of course, since I was the only one that did it in his huge group of people, he called me out. And that put enough pressure on me to make sure that I did the whole challenge. Otherwise, like most people, I might have quit. I might have said, all right, I'm not going to do this. Nobody else did it, so I'm not going to do it. But since he engaged with me and said, oh, wow, good job, even though it was a terrible video. I don't remember it now, but yesterday I was looking back at some of the challenges I've done, and I was going through some stuff to put a couple of extra videos up on my podcast, because at the end of each month, you lose all the memory that you don't lose and all you don't upload. So at the end of each month, when I remember, I try to fill up the rest of my memory, and I bought extra bandwidth, I guess, on my podcast this month, because I was doing things. So you have to buy it in like increments of like 200, whatever the unit of measure is. And so I had like 85 or 90 left. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do with this? I'm not just going to let it go away. So I put some of my old live challenge video, just the audio of those up. They're always videos. I do things in video, and then I strip the audio out and use that for my podcast. And so I put some of those up, and I ran across some stuff and some challenges. Oh my God, I forgot I even did them. I mean, it was really funny. And I watched some videos I did, my very first videos a couple of years ago. And if you think I'm terrible now, oh my God, you should go back and see some of those videos. Maybe I'll get really brave and I'll try to find like the very first video I ever made. And I know it was with a beaver puppet. I can see over there. The very first video I ever made was for something for Jim Edwards. And it was with this beaver puppet, because I was so scared I wasn't going to get on video by myself. So I'm talking to this beaver puppet in my very first video. I have got to try to find that because that would be pretty funny. I don't know where it is. I'd have to look, but I don't know where it is. But that would be pretty funny to bring that out. And like, I think it's bad now, and I trip over my tongue, and I dribble coffee down my face, and my nose itches, and whatever else. That's what I love about live video. You just show up and be yourself. What you see is what you get. WYSIWYG, just like that computer term. What you see is what you get. I think that's absolutely less stressful and more fun way to be. So that's it. That's all I've got today. I'm working on my challenge, working on some projects around the house. Which are always ongoing. Every weekend is like project weekend, right? I don't know if your life's like that, but my life has always been like that. There's always things to do, right? There's never any shortage. I always laugh when people say that they're bored. I get kids being bored, but all you have to do is redirect their attention. Same with us adults. Really? Is there really anything to be bored about? There's always so many things that we could possibly do. We just have to open our minds and look for them. That's it. If I can help you in any way, hit me up and ask in the comments below. Like I say, if I don't know the answer, I will point you in the direction of somebody that does. Because one of my favorite things to do is help people to identify what is the next thing you need to do right now. Not the next 4 things. What is the next one thing that you need to do? Because guess what? I know that if I can get you to take action toward the next thing and just go to the next thing, that will start the process of you taking action. And once you get somebody in action, they stay in action. Remember that whole inertia and momentum discussion that you had in probably grade school science class? Well, it's the same thing. It's, you start the snowball up on the top of the hill and you get it rolling. You only have to give it a little bitty push. When you give it a little push, it rolls down the hill and becomes this giant, well, sometimes it's an avalanche, but sometimes it's just a giant snowball, right? That's it. Have a fantastic day. Keep a stiff upper lip. If I can help you in any way, hit me up. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow. Journaling, what I'm doing is I transition from the offline brick and mortar world and corporate world to the online world, and how I help other people do the same thing. All right. Catch you tomorrow. Bye.